The universe is made from two fundamental building materials, hydrogen and helium, the lightest of all the elements. Elements heavier than these can only be formed inside the stars. Here, thermonuclear furnaces provide great heat, and all elements from carbon to iron are created. Out of these elements, everything else is made, including one of nature's simplest compounds, water, where life on Earth began. Beneath the silt of the ocean floor, buried in the land beneath our feet, evolution is recorded like a book in the geology of the Earth, and the language of the book is fossils. Through fossils, we are able to glimpse a world inhabited by creatures that test our imagination itself. Their name translated means terrible lizard. We know them as dinosaurs. Modern man has dinosaur fever. We are fascinated by these incredible creatures who roamed the Earth for 140 million years. Some dinosaurs were as tall as a 5-story building, but many were smaller than a dog. Other dinosaurs possessed immense strength, and some could run at almost 50 miles an hour. The fact is, dinosaurs died out millions of years before human beings existed, and why they suddenly disappeared is one of the great mysteries of the Earth. But we're learning more about them every day. New evidence found by analyzing dinosaur bones suggests that dinosaurs were not terrible lizards. They were not all cold-blooded reptiles. We have reason to believe that dinosaurs may have metabolized and been warm-blooded like us. Now, thanks to the imagination of our museums and a wonderful process called dynamation, we can glimpse what no human being has ever seen. We can turn back the evolutionary clock to before the dawn of man. We can go back to the time when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. Dinosaurs were well adapted to the environment of their prehistoric Earth. The carnivores ate the herbivores ate the abundant plants, and the species became so versatile that even though mammals existed, they were relegated to filling only the tiny gaps left open in the dinosaurs' food chain. Parasaurolophus, one of the duck-billed dinosaurs, roamed the open plains, much as antelopes do today. They were part of a dinosaur group called the hadrosaurs, grazing animals who fed on plants. Even though it weighed several tons and could measure 30 feet in length, Parasaurolophus had speed and grace. Their feet were equipped with hooves for maximum grip on the earth, and although Parasaurolophus would often graze on 4 legs, it ran on 2. The crest on top of the head, which could measure as much as 5 feet, is believed to have been to enhance the animal's sense of smell. All the air that Parasaurolophus breathed had to pass up and down its length. Recently, large collections of eggs, nests, and the fossilized remains of baby hadrosaurs have been found in Canada. It seems that these dinosaurs, much like some birds today, returned year after year to the same breeding grounds. The nests were placed about one dinosaur length apart, probably to allow room for growth, and this growth was likely very fast. When the hadrosaur was born, it was only about 6 inches long. This is the armored dinosaur, Ankylosaurus. Ankylosaurus measured as much as 17 feet long and weighed about 5 tons. Most of this weight was made up of the incredible armor that covered its body. Even its eyelids were protected by bony plates. Ankylosaurus was a peaceful plant-eater who roamed western North America, but the huge stones at the end of his tail could deliver a crushing blow to any attacker. If attacked, Ankylosaurus simply squatted low on the ground, unable to be turned over. This odd-looking dinosaur is the bone-headed Pachycephalosaurus. The bone, which was as much as 9 inches thick, might have been used to butt attackers of these peaceful grazing animals. Or, like the mountain goat, it may have been to defend territories or compete for mates. A complete skeleton of Pachycephalosaurus has never been found. Only the skulls have so far been discovered. And here are two of the best-known dinosaurs of all, Triceratops, three-horned face, and Tyrannosaurus rex, tyrant lizard. Triceratops, the four-legged plant-eater that browsed the open plains. Tyrannosaurus, the two-legged carnivore, horror king of the prehistoric world. Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops had no natural enemies. Tyrannosaurus' huge jaws were over 3 feet wide. It used these and its deadly talons to capture its usual prey of large plant-eating dinosaurs. If it was hungry, Tyrannosaurus may even have taken on Triceratops, though it's uncertain whether it would have been a matched battle. Triceratops' brain was twice as big. It had large eyes indicating keen eyesight, and it's been estimated that Triceratops could run at 30 miles per hour, almost as fast as a rhinoceros. Tyrannosaurus could measure about 47 feet from nose to tail, while Triceratops could measure about 25. Yet their weight was almost identical, about 5 tons. Triceratops and Tyrannosaurus are the most widely discovered dinosaurs and appear to be among the last, if not the very last, to become extinct. Pteranodon belonged to a group of flying reptiles called pterosaurs. Their wingspan, as much as 45 feet, was made entirely from a single delicate flap of skin. Pteranodon must have spent a lot of its life soaring above the oceans in much the same way that an albatross does today. But once grounded, pterosaurs, of which Pteranodon is the largest so far discovered, were not equipped to run as birds were. Yet pterosaurs had hollow bones like birds and a brain case that spread out behind the eyes, controlling sight and balance, two essential flight characteristics. It was birds, however, that became the best adapted force in the late prehistoric skies, and it appears that by the time the dinosaurs suddenly died out, pterosaurs were already well on their way to extinction. Most of the information that we have about dinosaurs has come to us through paleontologists, people who study prehistoric life through fossils. It is they who first learned of the abrupt disappearance of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Yet less than 200 years ago, we weren't even aware of the existence of dinosaurs. And for this, we have many people to thank, including one of the most famous fossil collectors of all time. She was a young 19th century English girl. Her name was Mary Anning. Mary Anning was one of the greatest fossil collectors of her time. In fact, "She sells seashells on the seashore" is a tongue twister that was made up to describe her. Mary collected seaside fossils in the south of England and sold them to tourists for souvenirs as a means of supporting her family. Most of the fossils that Mary collected were from the cliffs near her home. They were chalk cliffs formed during the last period of the dinosaurs, the Cretaceous period. Cretaceous means chalk. Mary had no way of knowing at the time that the rocks she was searching through were formed during the last and most prolific period of the dinosaurs. But in 1810, at the age of 11, Mary Anning made her greatest paleontological find. Mary had found the giant fossilized skeleton of a marine dinosaur. Mary couldn't believe her eyes. The discovery made her instantly famous. Mary's discovery of prehistoric bones was not the first time that such a discovery had been made. But up until the end of the 18th century, any huge bones or footprints that were found were explained as being the remains of giant humanoids or giant versions of modern animals. This is probably where a lot of our stories about giants originated. It was believed that these species had died in the Great Flood and that all other species had been saved by Noah's Ark. But by the time Mary Anning was born, scientific evidence was beginning to change people's minds. Her discovery, and several others like it, began an exciting period. Everyone was digging for dinosaurs, and it began to get very competitive. In fact, who could find the most dinosaurs became almost a matter of life and death for two great 19th century American paleontologists. They were Edward Cope and Charles Marsh, and their rivalry was legendary. Both were independently wealthy. Both were dinosaur fanatics, and both hated the other. Cope and Marsh spied on each other, and among the lonely ridges of their Wyoming excavation sites, they fought open wars. In the end, Cope identified 9 kinds of dinosaur, but Marsh was clearly the winner. He identified 19 kinds of dinosaurs. Cope and Marsh were a controversial pair, but no less controversial were the dinosaur bones they were after. As early as 1841, Richard Owen, the man who named the dinosaurs, had suggested that dinosaurs metabolized like mammals and birds. Yet it is only recently that a number of scientists have come to believe that this is true. If you look very closely at a dinosaur bone, you can see a network of microscopic canals that once supplied the bones with nourishment. This network is a characteristic of warm-blooded animals, those that can, to some extent, control their body temperature. This means they have a much more active lifestyle, and would help to explain why dinosaurs were the most successful terrestrial vertebrates before the appearance of humans. Paleontologists believe that once there were millions of dinosaurs all over the Earth. They know when they appeared, and they know when they became extinct, and they calculate this by finding out the age of the rock that the fossils are found in. This tells us something else too. Like the fossils of Listerosaurus, a prehistoric reptile about the size of a large dog. Listerosaurus was quite common. Remains of it have been found in South Africa, China, India, and Antarctica. But since the only way to Antarctica is by sea, and Listerosaurus was a land animal, this means that Antarctica must once have been connected to South Africa, India, China, or all three. Like giant lilies floating on the surface of a pond, the continents are constantly on the move, forcing up mighty mountain ranges and then losing them again beneath the ageless sea. 225 million years ago, all the continents were joined together in one supercontinent called Pangaea. It was the beginning of the Mesozoic era, the era when dinosaurs flourished. The Triassic period, the first period of the Mesozoic era, marked the beginning of the dinosaurs, descended from creatures like the Thecodont and the small Coelurosaurus, ancestor to them all. The Jurassic period, The middle period of the dinosaurs saw the emergence of the lizard-footed giants, the sauropods. The popular Apatosaurus, whose name means deceptive lizard, was about 75 feet long, had a 20-foot neck, and weighed 30 to 40 tons. The reason for such great size is unknown, but it's been suggested that sauropods' bodies may have been adapted for temperature control, like big, slow-cooling heat storage tanks that reduce the need for them to eat massive amounts of food to maintain a reasonable temperature. Sauropods' brains, though small for their size, were about the same size as a dog's. This must have been big enough, for the sauropods were one of the longest surviving dinosaurs. They lived until the sudden extinction of the dinosaurs at the very end of the last period of the Mesozoic era. This period was the Cretaceous period. There were more dinosaurs in the Cretaceous period than at any other time. Great forests covered the areas between inland seas, and insects and butterflies were common. The world must have been very beautiful then. But by the end of the Cretaceous period, something had happened. All the dinosaurs had died, and they weren't the only species to die out. With them, 80% of all life on the land and in the seas also died out. It was the greatest catastrophe the world has ever known, and there are many theories about what could have caused it. Beyond our solar system, there are massive stars, thousands of times bigger and brighter than the sun. But something happens to these stars when they get very old. A supernova. If one occurred close enough to Earth, the immense heat and radiation may have led to the dinosaurs' extinction. This is the Canyon Diablo crater in Winslow, Arizona. It was made by an asteroid that once collided with the Earth. This crater is just 220 meters across, but scientists believe that periodically asteroids thousands of times bigger have collided with the Earth. In 1963, the world was amazed by the sudden appearance of Surtsey, a small island off the coast of Iceland. Surtsey was the product of volcanic activity beneath the ocean. So is Iceland itself, and Iceland continues to be shaped by volcanic activity. Scientists have never discovered any rocks in Iceland older than 65 million years. Could it be that Iceland was formed during intense volcanic eruptions that indirectly killed the dinosaurs? We may never know exactly what caused the dinosaurs' extinction. Some even speculate that dinosaurs are not extinct. Legends like that of the Loch Ness Monster persist in our newspapers, and fearsome-looking dinosaurs like this Stegosaurus keep alive the fantasy of the prehistoric world in our backyards. Whatever the truth is, human beings will always dream. And with the extraordinary process called dynamation, our dreams of dinosaurs can come to life. We might say this is a new age, the the age of robot dinosaurs.
Misconceptions about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs weren't just terrible lizards. Dinosaurs weren't pea-brains. Some dinosaurs were pretty big, but dinosaurs weren't stupid. Dinosaurs ruled the earth for 140 million years. Ooh, long time. Pteranodon. I like that one too. Its wing was made from a single flap of skin. Oh, pterosaurs! Who's the lore of club and bang back in dinosaur days? They didn't have skyscrapers.